Today, I would like to share with you a resource which I think would be good for any introductory creative writing class from secondary to post-secondary students. The title is From Where You Dream, The Process of Writing Fiction, published by Grove Press in 2005. Pulitzer Prize-winning author Robert Owen Butler presents a compelling approach to fiction writing that emphasizes emotional truth and unconscious creativity. Across 268 pages, Butler guides aspiring writers, students, and instructors through a process that begins not with plot or structure, but with accessing what he calls the white-hot center of the unconscious mind, the source of authentic artistic expression. Butler's credentials are impressive. A professor at Florida State University since 1969, he has authored 18 novels and 6 short story collections. His accolades include the Pulitzer Prize, 2 National Magazine Awards, a Guggenheim Fellowship, and the F. Scott Fitzgerald Award for Outstanding Achievement in American Literature. Besides all that, what stands out to me the most is his willingness to challenge conventional wisdom and offer a radically different path to literary creation. The book is divided into 3 parts. The first includes 5 of Butler's classroom lectures from his creative writing course at Florida State University. Now, these lectures laid the philosophical foundation for his method and are rich with metaphor and personal insight. To me, one of the book's greatest strengths is its structure, how he progresses from lecture to workshop to story analysis mirrors the actual writing process itself, moving from theory to practice to reflection. As a student with limited experience in fiction writing, I found the lectures especially helpful. I highlighted passages and took extensive notes, which deepened my understanding of Butler's method. I have included a short quote from each of the lectures to give you an idea of Butler's writing process. In the introduction by Janet Burroway, an author in her own right, Butler's method is largely lecture. His students do not draw, dance, or gather in small groups. Yet his teaching offers a door into the non-conscious, where fiction lies. Chapter 1 is boot camp. Nevertheless, the only way to create a work of literary art is to stop that voice in your head. Your total attention needs to be on sensual flow of experience from the unconscious. Chapter 2, the zone. How to get to your writing zone and then revise what you've written. According to Butler, rewriting is redreaming. Rewriting is redreaming till it all thrums. Chapter 3, yearning. Now this is really important. This is where the sensual details accumulate around a moment in which the deepest yearning of the main character shines forth. What is that main character yearning to do, yearning to be? This is very important. This is the part that's going to engage your reader. We all have yearnings, and that is where the deepest emotions are. Chapter 4 I thought was very interesting. The title is Cinema of the Mind, and Butler tells us that fiction writers are the writer-directors of the cinema of their inner consciousness. Chapter 5, a writer prepares. Now, this is completely different from traditional pre-writing, what I, Butler, call dreamstorming, where you sit or recline in your writing space and meditate to enter into your trance. The second part, the workshop, outlines Butler's unique approach to critiquing student work, which differs significantly from the Iowa model. His workshop model, which emphasizes emotional truth over technical critique, resonated with me more than the Iowa model, workshop model. Butler also includes 2 exercises that he uses when he teaches his course: the anecdote exercise and the written exercise. These are designed to help students bypass those intellectual filters and access the unconscious. Although the book references a series of webcasts Butler created in 2001 to demonstrate his process, these are no longer available online. However, information about his work can be found through Florida State University's website. I have included the link here, and you can find out more information about him on that website. The final story, the final section. Now, I really enjoyed this. The stories analyzed. It features 3 short stories written by other authors, which Butler analyzes to illustrate the difference between writing from the head and writing from the dream space. He also includes in an appendix the short story Open Arms by Robert Olin Butler. And that story is actually in one of the books I'm going to talk about in just a few minutes. Remember, he emphasizes you're not writing from your head, you're writing from dream space. Okay, now, some readers may initially find Butler's language, terms like trance, yearning, and white-hot center, unusual or even off-putting. However, these metaphors are central to his philosophy. He challenges the notion that writing should not begin with ideas or outlines, arguing instead that such approaches often lead to flat, uninspired prose, usually sounding like a report rather than a story. For Butler, fiction must be rooted in the body's sensory memory and the character's deepest yearning. Butler argues that true art emerges from the dream space, which is that meditative state where the writer is deeply attuned to sensory experience and emotional yearning. He insists that writing must come not from the intellect, but from the body and the senses. Art comes from the place where you dream, your unconscious, the white hot center of you, in contrast to traditional writing strategies like free writing, clustering. Butler's method requires surrendering to a trance-like state of deep concentration. As Janet Burrow notes in her introduction, this process requires both patience and a depth of concentration that must be surrendered to and cannot be willed. I think one very significant difference is literal memory and sense memory. Tradition, things that made you good at school. That's what literal memory is. Literal memory is the facts you know. There's no emotion in it. It's like a report. Whereas your sensory memory is when you get into your writing zone where you are experiencing all of the sensory moments of the character. And you're putting that down on paper. All right. In conclusion, From Where You Dream is a valuable resource for students and instructors alike. Its emphasis on emotional authenticity and sensory experience offers a refreshing alternative to the more traditional formulaic approaches to writing. I plan to include this book in the syllabus for my future Introduction to Creative Writing course. Please take a moment to read the back cover of the textbook. It really gives you a lot of good information about Butler and even Janet Burroway. The quotes in this presentation came from the book From Where You Dream, The Process of Writing Fiction by Robert Olin Butler. Okay, now this is the front cover of the book A Good Scent from a Strange Mountain, which contains many of the short stories. I think there's about 10 or 11 short stories in this book, and it is including The Open Arms, which is in his textbook. And also, the second story in the book is Mr. Green. Now, I would like for you to take a few minutes to read the back cover of this book, and you kind of get a feel for what Butler wrote about. He had a lot of experiences in Vietnam, and most of the stories that he wrote that I found, especially in this book, are from his Vietnamese experiences. So I'll give you just a few minutes to read the back cover because I really think it will help you to understand the stories in the book. All right. Now, this is today what we're going to do is I want you to close your eyes. I want you to try to go into take everything out of your mind. Don't worry about your presentation. Don't worry about what we're going to do later. Don't worry about anything right now. I just want you to close your eyes and I want you to listen as I read this story. It's the first two paragraphs of the short story, Mr. Green. Close your eyes, clear your mind. Here we go. I am a Catholic, the daughter of a Catholic mother and father, and I do not believe in the worship of my ancestors, especially in the form of a parrot. My father's parents died when he was very young, and he became a Catholic in an orphanage run by nuns in Hanoi. My mother's mother was a Catholic, but her father was not. And like many Vietnamese, he was a believer in what Confucius taught about ancestors. I remember him taking me by the hand while my parents and my grandmother were sitting under a banana tree in the yard, and he said, "Let's go talk with Mr. Green." He led me into the home and touched his lips with his forefingers to tell me that this was a secret. Mr. Green was my grandfather's parrot, and I loved talking to him. But we passed Mr. Green's roost in the front room. Mr. Green said, "Hello, kind sir," but we didn't even answer him. My grandfather took me to the back of his house, to a room that my mother had said was private, that she had yanked me away from when I once had tried to look in. It had a bead curtain at the door, and we passed through it, and the beads rustled like tall grass. The room was dim, lit by candles, and it smelled of incense. And my grandfather stood me before a little shrine with flowers and a smoking incense bowl and two brass candlesticks, and between them a photo of a man in a Chinese Mandarin hat. "That's my father," he said, nodding toward the photo. "He lives here." Then he let go of my hand and touched my shoulder. "Say a prayer for my father." The face in the photo was tilted a little to the side and was smiling faintly, like he'd asked me a question and he was waiting for an answer that he expected to like. I knelt before the shrine as I did at Mass, and I said the only prayer I knew by heart, the Lord's Prayer. All right, if you will, just think for a moment. You can open your eyes. Think for a moment about the literal memory you have and the sensory memory you have. I want us to concentrate on the sensory memory. I just did this to demonstrate how important it is to get your readers engaged through the sensory images. All right. If anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns, I think we have about 1 minute left. I do hope that you will look the book up and the textbook up and look at it as a possible resource when you're teaching creative writing. Thank you very much.